How are you there? I'm going to make this video not for everyone, but just for a few people, just the army generals. Army generals, do not be afraid of the international community or the international mafia who are denying us the right to development via their stooge Idim Mnangagwa, who is siphoning the public wealth, the finances of the country, and feeding in their economies. That is the crime of the Western world and the Eastern world, both of them combined together in collusion against the citizens of Zimbabwe. It is a duty as the army generals of Zimbabwe to ensure the sovereignty of the state. If the sovereignty of the state is compromised by the head of state, you do have the right and the job to do what is to be done to protect our sovereignty so that Zimbabwe can have the right to development. Through various proxies that are used to loot public wealth of the Zimbabweans and bank it in foreign jurisdictions, aided by international banks, international accounting firms, and consultation firms that have got headquarters in Europe, in London, in the United States, in China, in other global financial centers of the world, to benefit them at the expense of the majority of the Zimbabweans. It is the reason why you were made army generals, not to create a nyembe for nothing, but create a nyembe to ensure that the sovereign is well protected, even from the international bullies. Do not be afraid of them, even if they've got access to the United Nations. The United Nations is actually an ordered organization that has got rules and regulations. And therefore, do not be afraid of the corrupt, even the corrupt politicians in Washington who have got access to the White House and who are able to direct policy against the people of Zimbabwe. I do understand that some of our leaders are under US sanctions, and that has been used as an excuse for the lack of development in our country. But we do know that if really the United States is serious about sanctions, it will stop taking Zimbabwean for stolen money into the Dow Jones Industrial Average and into their banking systems, and also into some of their companies that they are invested in around the world, wherever the money that Aguirre and his friends are staffing it. It is necessary, therefore, as Zimbabweans to understand that there is nobody in Wall Street who wants us to succeed, because they need those billions made from Zimbabwe. Whether they go via Mauritius or they go via Dubai, at the end of the day, they will land in New York City on the S&P 500, buying Tesla shares, buying Google shares, and buying the Magnificent Seven. What makes you think that there is anyone in that region that would want Itim Mnangagwa to go? What makes you think anyone in Silicon Valley who receives Zimbabwe's stolen billions and they put it in their banks and they use those billions to fund startups in Silicon Valley so that they become the most powerful in the world? You will hear them say, the global economy is anemic, but the American economy is strong. It is strong because my people were suffering, and therefore it is a prerogative, therefore, Army General, to ensure that you protect the wealth of the nation, to protect the finances of the nation. See, this is how this game is played against us. They don't mind putting sanctions on Mnangagwa. They don't mind that the people that still are black, they actually do need some of our mentally weak black people like Itim Mnangagwa and Dakwere, who's the weakest minded, weakest link in the Zimbabwean link. That's Dakwere. Because after managing to steal all the resources all that money. There's no white person who need to steal any money in Zimbabwe. All they need to do is to have a bank that Dagure is just gonna put that money in. And there it goes, my people. The process of your resources are going back to your colonial masters via your very own Nangagwas and the Daguris. And as an army general and army commanders, you need to be cognizant of that fact. You need to take action against personnel in the sovereign who are engaged in such activities that are ruinous to the future of our children and future generations. So, there is your answer to the international community when they ask you stupid questions about why you have to give a chance for Zimbabwe to breathe. For our nation is an ICU. It is a dying patient. And therefore, zinyembe zenyu, the army, are for a purpose. And that purpose is to ensure that the nation's economy is rejuvenated by stopping the looting of our finances. I don't care that some of you have got gold diamonds and gold mines and diamond mines in the country. I don't care that you control them. I need to, when you make that profit, bank it in Zimbabwe and make sure that it works in the Zimbabwean economy. Then all will be well. After all, a gold mine must be owned by some person, right? Exactly. So we are not overly concerned about who owns the mine, but we are concerned mostly about what happens to the profit that belongs to the one who owns the mine. As long as those profits are going to New York and London, our oppressors are happy. But as long as you start ensuring that the banking system is robust and follows rules in Zimbabwe, then we have defeated them. For we'll be able to create an economic system, a semi-closed economic system, where we can have our money to circulate within our economy, sparing innovation and encouraging innovation and helping downstream industries across the board. And that is possible. I'm willing to be part of that Zimbabwean miracle to ensure that we do get our country in a position where we will be respected. As an army general, you need to be respected and not be a T-boy of the Chinese or the Americans or even of the British. It is time, Zimbabwe, to arise. It is time to arise and shine like stars and be a shining star in Africa. Do not be timid. As I said, army generals in Harare don't fear King Charles. He is a mere man. And if they ask you questions, if they question you too much, question that you cannot answer, call me. I've got the right answers. I'm right here in Cape Town. They know who I am. They know where I am. I'm not in hiding. I know exactly what to tell them. Holy is the Lord. Our country has got the right to development. I repeat, all of you in the international community, whose trespass has been to use sophisticated economics and rules and regulations to actually ensure that my people are impoverished at the end of the stick. I, Kobani Zondo, together with the generals of my country, will ensure that the sovereignty of Zimbabwe is kept intact and the right to development of our people is respected and is upheld. For it is that right to development that the international community is guilty of denying Zimbabwe. And when I say international community, I mean all of them, including our neighbors, South Africa and Botswana, do not wish even for 1 second for Zimbabwe to succeed. Do you think that Pretoria and Gauteng would be happy when Zimbabwe succeed? Do you think that the Western Cape, with massive cheap labor of Zimbabweans, do you think that they will be happy if all that cheap labor suddenly disappears and go back to Zimbabwe and they are left with their own black South Africans who will demand labor increases, and they've got so much rights that South African capital will find overwhelming, and therefore they need that vulnerable cheap labor from Southern Africa. So therefore, our enemy as black Zimbabweans is actually white monopoly capital in South Africa. Before we even go far, it doesn't even stop there with white monopoly capital. The ANC itself. You did hear when Edim Nangag was inaugurated, Ramaphosa was the first one to be there. And their Secretary General was dismissive of Nelson Chamisa's campaign, belittling it because the ANC wishes to continue not only looting South African resources, but also want to be part of the looting brigade in Zimbabwe. And therefore, they've got no interest of a successful Zimbabwe. I am not talking about Europeans now. We're talking about Africans. So we are alone. We are all alone. We need to man up and be strong and grow balls and not be timid. And send a clear message to SADC that SADC, you are no longer going to protect a man whose interest is to destroy his own citizens. And as the protector of the sovereign, you have got a job. You have got a job to do in the barracks. It's to protect the sovereign, not to protect a man who's clearly serving the interests of foreigners. The Chinese are happy with ED because he will allow them to extract our resources, and they will have favorable deals that ensure that they don't pay taxes, they do not respect environmental laws and labor laws, disrespect the human dignity of our people, so that they can get those resources cheap and produce cheaply in China and be able to sell cheap Chinese products even to Europe and the United States. So do not think that Europe and the United States want to disrupt that extractive economic model that China is pursuing in Africa and in Zimbabwe. They might actually fight with China, but they're not fighting with China for China to free Zimbabwe. No. They are fighting their own other wars that have got nothing to do with us. Therefore, Army General, be strong and be courageous and shine. And as I told you, if they ask you too many questions, call me. I've got the right answers to give the international community. For the resources of Zimbabwe belong to the Zimbabweans. The political system of Zimbabwe belongs to the Zimbabweans. And we are going to deny them of foreign interference in our political system so that we will be able to deliver deliverables to our people, for our people, in our sovereign. Let him who is against what I'm saying, I've got a couple of words for them. My name is Ngobani Zondo, and I'm ready to take my country forward. And there's no devil in hell who will be able to stop what me and my God are about to do. Have a great evening.